Tripura Rahasya. Tripura Rahasya. There is a text in the Advaita Vedanta tradition known as the Tripura Rahasya, which means, roughly, the secret of the triple city. It is attributed to a sage called Haritayana, and it appears to have taken its present form somewhere between the 12th and 16th centuries in South India, a period when the great philosophical schools were hardening into doctrine, and the living fire of direct inquiry was in danger of being lost. The text holds a remarkable place in the tradition because it does not argue its way toward awakening through abstract philosophy alone. Instead, it tells stories, and through those stories, it performs a kind of surgery on the reader's sense of who and what they are. The central voice is the sage Dattatreya, and the central student is the warrior Parashurama, a man who has accomplished everything the world has to offer and found himself, against all expectation, completely empty. What unfolds between them is one of the most searching conversations in all of Indian literature. With that, let us enter the text itself. Parashurama, the son of Jamadagni, had completed his vow. He had rid the earth of the arrogant kings 21 times over, but the blood on his hands had not cooled the fire in his heart. He found no peace in the silence of the forests. He came to the sage Dattatreya, his axe heavy by his side, and fell at his feet. He said, "Master, I have won the earth, but I have lost myself. I have fulfilled every duty, yet I am a beggar for peace. Why is it that the more I do, the more I am haunted by the doing?" Dattatreya answered, "You are suffering from the fatigue of the finite. You have tried to satisfy the infinite hunger of your soul with the finite blood of your enemies. The axe can kill a king, but it cannot kill a thought. The world you have conquered is a phantom, and you are exhausted from fighting a dream. Listen, O Rama, no one is free who still finds flavor in the world. Look at the people. They are like children building sandcastles while the tide is coming in. The wealth you hoard is a loan from time. The body you polish is fuel for the fire. The relationships you cling to are shadows meeting shadows. If a joy has a beginning, it must have an end. To seek permanent peace in a temporary world is a mathematical error. Your despair is not a sickness. It is the first pulse of health. It is the realization that the theater of the many is a hollow stage. I shall tell you the secret of the goddess Tripura, the one who dwells in the 3 cities. She is the unmoving awareness that supports the waking, the dreaming, and the sleeping. She is the mirror. The 3 worlds are her reflections. The world is not an outside thing. It is a series of internal states. The first city is the waking state, where the eye identifies with the body and what is solid and visible. The second city is the dreaming state, where the eye identifies with the mind and its phantoms. The third city is the state of deep sleep, where the eye identifies with a dark, peaceful void. The goddess is the fourth, the one who watches the 3 cities rise and fall without being a citizen of any. Parashurama asked, "How do I find this goddess? Where does she hide?" Dattatreya said, "She does not hide. She is the light of your own I am. You cannot find her because you are using her light to do the searching. The search for the self is like a man looking for his own eyes. Stop the searching. Discard the searcher, who is just another character in the play. Remain as the unblinking gaze." Parashurama asked, "Master, you speak of the goddess Tripura. Why is she called the Lady of the 3 cities? What are these cities, and how can a single awareness inhabit them all without being divided? If she is one, why do I see three different worlds? Dattatreya answered, O Rama, the cities are not made of stone or brick. They are modes of perception. You wander through them every day, yet you remain a stranger to the ground on which they are built. To know the goddess is to realize that the waking, the dreaming, and the sleeping are three temporary movies projected onto the single screen of her being. The first city is Jagrat, the waking state. Here the mind flows out through the gates of the senses to touch the solid world. It identifies with the body of meat and bone. It believes in the other. It believes in distance, in gravity, and in the permanence of the mountain. But is this waking city real? It is real only as long as you are standing in it. The moment you close your eyes and sink into sleep, this solid world vanishes as if it never was. The hardness of the stone is a frequency of the intellect. The waking city is a high-definition dream held together by the collective habit of the mind. The second city is Svapna, the dreaming state. Here the gates of the senses are shut. The mind creates its own sun, its own moon, and its own mountains. It weaves a drama out of the threads of memory and desire. The dream city proves the luminosity of the self. In a dream you see light, yet the physical sun is not there. You feel heat, yet the physical fire is not there. This proves that awareness is the material cause of experience. The dream is a low-definition waking. The waking is a high-definition dream. Both are nothing but vibrations of the goddess. The third city is Sushupti, deep sleep. Here even the mind falls silent. The names and forms are folded back into the seed state. There is no I and there is no world. There is only a dark, peaceful void. And yet when you wake, you say, I slept happily, I knew nothing. Who was there to witness the nothing? Who reports the happiness? The goddess is that unblinking witness. She remains as the light in the empty theater, waiting for the next show to begin. The goddess Tripura is the fourth, the Turiya. She is the unmoving awareness that pervades the three cities. She is the tissue of the universe. The waking city is 100% awareness. The dream city is 100% awareness. The sleep city is 100% awareness. There is no gap where the goddess is not. Difference is a visual artifact of the shifting focus. Sovereignty is the realization, I am the screen. The three cities are temporary paintings. I am not a citizen of any. I am the ground of all. Prince Hemachuda was a man lost in the city of the heart. He was young, wealthy, and deeply addicted to the pleasures of the senses. He married the beautiful princess Hemilka, but found to his surprise that she remained strangely cool, silent, and indifferent to the luxuries of the palace. One day, seeing her sitting in solitary peace, Hemachuda asked, My beloved, why do you not enjoy the music and the perfumes? Why do you sit like a statue while the world offers you its finest treasures? Is there something you lack? Hemilka answered, My lord, I lack nothing, for I have stopped looking for pearls in a pile of ash. You are like a man who is fascinated by the glint on a broken bottle while ignoring the sun that causes the glint. I have found the sun. You say you love my beauty, but look closely. If my beauty were in my flesh, you would love me just as much when I am a corpse. If it were in my skin, you would find a bag of skin beautiful on its own. The beauty you see is a luminous superimposition. It is the light of awareness reflecting through a temporary filter of meat and bone. We think the value is in the object, in the woman, the gold, the wine, but the value is the subject leaking into the object. The world is a borrowed feast. Sovereignty is the capacity to recognize the substance of the delight and discard the container. When you taste a sweet fruit, Hemachuda, where does the sweetness lie? If it were in the fruit would be sweet even to a man with a fever. The sweetness is the moment of stillness that occurs when your desire is temporarily satisfied. In that silence, you taste your own self. Desire creates a ripple in the mind. You feel lack. You touch the object. The ripple stops. In the quiet pool, your own nature, which is bliss, reflects. Then comes the error. You attribute the bliss to the object. What I am teaching you is the act of skipping the middleman. Find the stillness without needing the fruit. Look at me, Hemachuda, and see the mirror. Do not look at my face. Look at the awareness that allows my face to be known. That awareness is not mine, and it is not yours. It is the goddess Tripura. Prince Hemachuda then asked, "My beloved, you say the world is a reflection, but a reflection in a mirror requires a physical object standing outside the glass. If the universe is a reflection in the goddess, where is the original standing? If there is no object outside, how can there be an image inside?" Hemelka answered, "O Prince, you are still trapped in the geometry of the jar. You believe that for a thing to be seen, it must have a body of its own. But consider the dream. In a dream you see a mountain. Is there a physical mountain standing outside your mind? No. Yet the mountain is vivid. The world is not a reflection of an external thing. It is the self-luminous nature of awareness appearing as the many through its own inexhaustible creative power. Awareness is not a dead, cold blank. It knows itself, and in that knowing it shines. Because it is infinite, it contains all possibilities. When this light illumines its own infinite potentiality, the appearance of multiplicity arises. Consider a clear diamond. The diamond is one, but because of its facets, it reflects its own light in 1,000 different colors. Does the diamond become a rainbow? No. Is there an outside rainbow hitting the diamond? No. The many colors are the diamond's own brilliance viewed through the angles of its own nature. The universe is the rainbow, the goddess is the diamond. The prince asked, "Why do some reflections attract us while others repel us? If all is one light, why is there desire?" Hemelka said, "You look at an object, a gem, a face, a crown. You see a faint glint of your own bliss reflecting in that form. Then because of the veil of forgetfulness, you believe the bliss is inside the object. You desire the object in order to get the bliss back. Desire is spiritual homesickness misdirected. You are like a man who sees his own face in a mirror and tries to kiss the glass. You are not looking for the other. You are looking for the subject in the object." The student asked, "If the world is a thought, why is it so hard? Why can I not walk through a wall?" Hemelka answered, "The hardness of the wall is not a physical fact. It is a habit of certainty. Because the total mind has held the wall thought for eons, it has acquired the momentum of matter. But to the goddess, the wall is as thin as a cloud. The universe is awareness condensed into matter through the cooling power of misidentification." Prince Hemachuda, his mind quieted, asked, "My beloved, I see that the world is a reflection. I see that the out there is a glint of the in here. But where is this in here? When I look for myself, I find a body, I find a breath, and I find a storm of thoughts. Which of these is the goddess? Where does the seer hide?" Hemelka answered, "O Prince, you are looking for the subject as if it were an object. We shall now perform a surgical stripping of your identity. We will peel away the layers of the known until the knower stands naked. You say I am this body, but look closely. This body is a bag of skin, bone, blood, and waste. It was born from the food of your parents. It is sustained by the bread you eat today. It changes from childhood to old age. It is an object perceived by you just like a jar or a stone. The seen cannot be the seer. The body is seen. Therefore the body is not you. It is a biological uniform you are currently wearing, but it possesses no awareness of its own. You say I see, I hear, I touch. You identify with the senses, but the eye is a lens of flesh. The ear is a drum of skin. When you are in deep sleep, the eyes are there, but there is no seeing. The senses are merely instruments, tools of the mind. A carpenter is not his hammer. You are the one who uses the senses. You are not the senses themselves. Finally, you say, I think, I feel, I am sad. You identify with the modifications of the mind, but look at a thought. It rises like a bubble, stays for a second, and pops. Anger rises, and you witness it. Anger falls, and you witness its absence. The one who witnesses the arrival and departure of the thought must be separate from the thought. The mind is a projector. You are the screen. The movie on the screen can be a tragedy or a comedy, but the screen itself is never made wet by the painted rain or burned by the painted fire. The prince asked, if I am not the body, not the senses, and not the mind, what is left? I feel I am falling into a void. Hemelka said, who is the one witnessing the falling? Who is aware of the void? That awareness which cannot be negated, which cannot be thrown away, and which remains when the theater is empty, that is the goddess. That is your true nature, pure, unblinking awareness. Prince Hemachuda, standing in the silence of his new understanding, asked, my beloved, I see that I am the witness. I see that the eye is the light, but logic still pulls at my sleeve. In a common mirror, there is a physical object standing outside, which causes the reflection inside. If the world is a reflection in awareness, what is the original that stands outside of me to cause this universe? Where is the thing that casts this shadow? Hemelka answered, O Prince, you are still trying to find a backdoor for duality. You assume that for an image to exist, there must be a solid body separate from the mirror. But awareness is not a common mirror of silver and glass. It is the supreme mirror, the one that possesses the power to illuminate its own infinite potentiality without needing another to trigger it. Does the reflection enter the mirror? No. Is the mirror changed by the reflection? No. The reflection is nothing but the mirror itself appearing as if it were a shape. Consider a polished diamond. The diamond reflects its own internal facets. The colors and shapes you see are not inside the diamond, and they are not outside. They are the diamond's own brilliance viewed from a specific angle. The universe is that diamond play. The goddess does not look at a world, she looks as a world. There is no object standing in the dark. There is only the self-luminous nature of awareness shining as all apparent forms. You ask where the original is. I tell you, there is no out there. The very idea of distance and externality arises within awareness itself. Consider a dream. You see a mountain that appears miles away. Is there miles of actual distance inside your sleeping mind? No, the apparent vastness is a movement within awareness alone. So too the waking world, all its distances and separations are appearances within the one luminous expanse of the goddess. There is no elsewhere, there is only this. Matter is the name we give to the density of the appearance. When awareness is clear and self-recognizing, we call it subject. When awareness appears veiled by forgetfulness, it seems dense, heavy and cold. We call it object, but the subject and the object are made of the same luminous substance. The stone is a slowly moving ripple on still water. The mind is a fast-moving ripple on the same water. Both are 100% water. Parashurama, though his heart was quieted, felt the pull of the old world logic. He asked, "Master, there are those who say that awareness is merely a byproduct of the body. They say that just as the red color is produced by chewing betel leaf, lime and nut, none of which are red on their own, so does consciousness emerge from the mixing of the elements in the brain. If the body dies, they say the light goes out. How do we know that awareness is the mother and not the child of matter?" Dattatreya answered, "O Rama, you are being fooled by a chemical mirage. The materialist is like a man who sees a reflection in a mirror and tries to find the source of the light by smashing the glass. Look at the example of the betel leaf. The red color produced by the nut and the leaf is itself an object of perception. The leaf is seen, the nut is seen, the resulting red color is seen. Who is the one doing the seeing? If consciousness were a color produced by the brain, there would have to be a second consciousness standing outside the brain to observe that color, and a third to observe the second. You cannot have an observed result without a prior observer. Consciousness cannot be a product of the elements, for the elements themselves are only known to exist because consciousness reports them. Awareness is the condition of the experiment, not the result of it. Matter is dark, cold, and blind. Can 1,000 blind men, by standing in a circle, produce a single eye? Can 1,000,000,000 tons of dead stone, by being piled together, produce a single thought? Matter possesses no self-luminosity. A rock does not know it is a rock. A brain cell does not know it is a cell. Knowledge is the property of the subject alone. To say matter produces awareness is to say that the shadow produces the sun. It is a logical inversion. Matter is awareness that has forgotten its own luminosity. Awareness is not the vibration of matter remembered. Awareness is the unsetting sun. Even when you say there is no God or there is only matter, you are using the light of the goddess to make that very claim. Look at the sequence of your doubt. Doubt rises and you witness it. Doubt persists and you witness its weight. Doubt is resolved and you witness its absence. The witness remains identical throughout the rising and falling of every philosophy. Matter changes, theories rot, bodies decay, but the act of witnessing has no beginning and no end. It is the foundational isness. Parashurama asked, "Master, you have proven that awareness is the primary fact, but is this awareness merely a blank screen? Is it a dead, silent space that simply sits while the world happens? If the self is without qualities, how can it be the mother of the universe? How can a cold nothing produce a warm something?" Dattatreya answered, "O Rama, you are confusing silence with death. Awareness is not a dry vacuum. It is the nature of the goddess herself, and her nature is luminous and full. She is the light that knows itself. Without this self-knowing, the light would be blind to its own brilliance. The goddess is not a thing you find. She is the vibrancy of your own being. Consider the sun. The sun is a mass of fire, but what is the sun without its light? If you separate the sun from its shining, you have neither a sun nor light. The shining is the nature of the sun. The goddess is that shining. She is the auspicious fullness that allows the absolute to be what it is, aware, infinite, and blissful. Sovereignty is the realization that you are not a body possessing a soul, but a luminous awareness that is currently appearing as a body. Every creature says I, from the smallest insect to the highest god. The I is the constant note. Where does this I come from? The I is the echo of the goddess, resounding in each apparent mind. Usually we identify I with a name, a history, and a piece of meat. But the I is actually the sovereign pulse of awareness that precedes all names. The mirror of awareness is infinite. Because it is infinite, it contains every possible appearance. The goddess is the mother of all that appears. The world is a luminous display arising within your own presence. The stars are not elsewhere. They appear within the same awareness in which this very conversation is occurring. You are not a small thing looking at a large universe. You are the awareness in which the large universe is arising. Parashurama asked, Master, I have tasted the silence in meditation. When my eyes are shut, I am the infinite. But the moment I open them, the world rushes back. I see the trees, I hear the noise, and I feel the weight of my duties. Does my sovereignty depend on keeping the world out? Am I only the goddess when I am in a trance? Dattatreya answered, O Rama, you are still treating the truth as a fragile state. If your awareness can be interrupted by a sound, it is not the absolute. It is just a mental quietude you have manufactured. True sovereignty is not the absence of ripples. It is the recognition of the water. We shall now calibrate the sovereign gaze, which remains unblinkingly aware of itself, even in the middle of a battlefield or a marketplace. There are 3 grades of absorption. The first is distinguished awareness, where you see the self but still see it against the world, holding a thought of oneness. This is effort. The second is the unconditioned state, where the mind falls into a total void. There is no world and no ego. This is a temporary eclipse of the shadow. The third is the natural state, sahaja, where the eyes are open, the hands are working, but the heart is stationary. You see the many as the one. This is the absolute. The unconditioned absorption is like a man who sleeps to escape a headache. When he wakes up, the headache returns. The natural state is the man who has undergone surgery to remove the cause of the headache. He can be awake and active, yet perfectly cool. Text offers an image to clarify this. Consider a lamp that is taken from house to house. In each room, the objects are different. In one room there is a bed, in another a throne, in another an empty floor. But the light of the lamp falls on all things equally, and no room changes the nature of the lamp's flame. The sage moves through joy and sorrow, through activity and rest, as the lamp moves through rooms. The light remains unchanged. This, O Rama, is what it means to be established in the natural state. Not that the rooms cease to exist, but that you know yourself to be the lamp. Awareness is the thread. Experiences are the beads. Look at a necklace of pearls. You see the pearls, but the thread is hidden. Usually you only notice the beads, the waking, the dreaming, the sleeping, the joy, the sorrow. Because the beads are different, you think the self is changing. Sovereignty is the capacity to feel the thread. Once you know the thread is there, the color of the bead no longer matters. Whether the mind is thinking or silent, the substance of knowing remains identical. Parashurama asked, Master, you have given me the logic. You have shown me the mirror. I have analyzed the sheaths and found the witness. But why is the vision still a flicker? Why does the mind return to the dream? If I have the map, why do I not have the kingdom? Is there a final work I must perform to seal the truth? Dattatreya answered, O Rama, you are still trying to conquer the sun. You are like a man trying to pull himself up by his own hair. You believe that liberation is a trophy you can win through effort. But the self is not a prize. It is the ground. In this final movement, You must realize that the final opening of the eye is not the fruit of your calculation alone, but arises when inquiry has ripened fully and the goddess reveals herself from within. The text says this plainly: the grace of the goddess is not arbitrary, it is not a reward for being good, it is not given to favorites, it is the natural unfolding that occurs when the seeker has become genuinely ripe. The ripening is the work of sustained inquiry and inner purification. The recognition itself is the gift of that ripeness meeting its own source. The goddess and the seeker are never truly two, and the moment of recognition is the moment that truth becomes undeniable. What then is the use of long inquiry? Consider a sacrificial fire. You gather the wood through discipline, you arrange the altar through logic and inquiry, you clear the wind through quietness. The wood and the altar are necessary, but they are not the fire. You can sit by a pile of wood forever and remain cold. The kindling of the fire is the gift of ripeness, the moment the long preparation meets its own fulfillment. Your effort creates the possibility of the fire. The goddess provides the reality of the fire. Sovereignty is the realization. I have built the altar. Now I must allow what has always been present to reveal itself. How does one attract this grace? The final procedure is surrender. Stop trying to know. Realize that the I who is trying to wake up is the last obstacle to the waking. When the seeker becomes totally exhausted, when he realizes his logic is a circle and his effort is a chain, he drops the axe. In that moment of total, defenseless honesty, the mirror of awareness clears itself. Surrender is not giving up your power, it is trading a candle for the sun. Parashurama, his heart stilled, asked, "Master, the dream has broken. I know I am the mirror of awareness, but the body still breathes, the hunger still bites, the eyes still see the world. If the two is dead, why does the appearance of two remain? Does the goddess continue to play even after she has been recognized?" Dattatreya answered, "O Rama, you are misdiagnosing the momentum. Knowledge does not erase the appearance, it dissolves the claim of independent reality that the appearance was making. The sage is like a pot moving through space. The space inside the pot seems to move from the house to the well, but has the space moved? No, the sage is the space, the body is the jar. He inhabits his own history as a traveler inhabits a rented room, watching the shadows lengthen with a cool, unblinking eye. Consider a man who has been shown that a mirage is only sunlight hitting the sand. Does the water vanish from his sight? Does the sight of water make him run toward it? No, he has the vision of water but the certainty of sand. This is the state of the unbound. He sees the many, the trees, the people, the tragedies, but he has seen through the claim they make on him. He treats the world as a sublated appearance. It is a painted agony that does not scratch the fabric of his being. He is the sovereign of the mirage. The sage moves through the world with spontaneous and transparent action. Because he has no personal agenda binding his movement, whatever he does is uncontracted and free. He is busy on the outside, but stationary on the inside. He acts not to acquire something for a self that is no longer believed in, but because the current of life moves through him freely, like wind through an open window. Why does the body continue at all? The life of the sage is an arrow in flight. The ignorance that shot the arrow, the birth, is gone, but the kinetic energy of the flight must hit the ground. The sage is the sky. The arrow body flies through the sky. The sky does not move with the arrow. The sky does not feel the impact. The sage lets the body follow its remaining momentum, for he knows it is a discarded identification, not a cage that still holds him. The sage Dattatreya fell silent. The surgical deconstruction of the three cities was complete. The mirrors had been polished, the reflections identified, and the appearance of the other seen for what it is. He looked at Parashurama with a gaze that was neither giving nor taking, but simply being. Parashurama, the great warrior, sat as still as a mountain. His axe, the symbol of his individual will, his anger, and his history, lay forgotten in the dust. He was no longer a student waiting for a final word. He was the silence in which all words occur. Parashurama finally spoke, his voice carrying a quietness that needed no audience. "Master, there is no more mystery to be kept. The secret was only the fact that I was looking for my own eyes. I am not the reflection in the mirror. I am the light that allows the mirror to be. I am not liberated, for the eye that could be bound was a visual artifact. There is only the shoreless awareness, full and luminous, shining by its own nature." If you think the truth is hidden, you are still imagining a veil. If you think the truth is revealed, you are still imagining a process. True sovereignty is the dissolution of that optical binary. The Tripura Rahasya was a medicine used to cure the fever of duality. Now that the fever is gone, the medicine is discarded. The goddess is not a goal at the end of a path. She is the ground that made the path look possible. Parashurama looked at the forest and the master and said, "I see the world, but I no longer see the hardness. The trees and the stones are like the colors of a rainbow in a spray of water, vivid to the eye, beautiful to the heart, but empty of independent substance. The universe is the display of the goddess. It is her wearing the mask of the many. The world does not vanish, it becomes transparent. The sage does not close his eyes to find the goddess. He keeps his eyes open and sees the goddess looking through his own pupils. Sovereignty is the capacity to walk through the theater of the three cities without for a single second believing in the other. I am the mirror and I am the image. I am the light and I am the shadow. I am the one who remains when the song is over. The king has realized that his kingdom is his own substance. He does not rule over things, he is the isness of things. He no longer plays a part in the history of Parashurama. He is the silence that allows the history to be written. He is the unnegatable residue. The tournament of the three cities is over. The axe is in the dust. Awareness is the only substance. Duality is an optical error. Identity is the unblinking fact. Here ends the Tripura Rahasya, the mirror of the goddess.